All right, welcome back to Reading Between the Lines. This is episode 15. I have someone with me today who's Pravash Dey. He's the founder of India Blockchain Council, also the founder of US India Blockchain Council, and he's a mentor at Startup India. It's great to have you with us, Pravash.
Thank you, Tan. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Glad.
So, Pravash, a lot of people within the Indian ecosystem, especially within the blockchain ecosystem within India, know you very well. But for the people that don't know you very well, why don't you introduce yourself for us?
Great. Thank you, Dan. So just to take you in a long back and short story to share with you, I come from a family where my dad was a teacher, my mom was a teacher, from very much middle class family. I had five brothers, one sister. So we have been growing up, uh, into education, then after getting a job. So there was no entrepreneurship in our family. So I would say I'm like the first generation of entrepreneurs when I started it, right? But being in the education as well as the opportunity of armed forces traveling to different cities during my college time, I was doing my political science honors and I had a vocational subject called travel and tourism. It was, by the way, funded by the UGC government of India, and I was lucky to having that course. So that gave me a lot of opportunity to meet travel industry experts from travel and tourism, hotel industry, airlines, and other tour operators, etc., etc. Also traveling to different places, like that gave me a lot of exposure, meeting with people, understanding their culture, their lifestyle, etc. So while doing that, I realized that technology was just in the beginning, and I was one of that fast movers advantage. Access to Hotmail, Yahoo, Hypipe. I don't know how many of your listeners probably have, or could. So I am the guy of that era. So I was very fascinated towards technology, even if my course was very much non-technical, but I did during my bachelor's and master's computer application program as well. So I did a DCA, diploma in computer application. I also did a postgraduate diploma in computer application. So both of them are online programs, but we used to have offline classes as well to get your questions and answers. So it was a full-time, almost like a 5 years diploma plus integrated program. So during that time, I was very much fascinated towards technology and how technology can make a difference. I understood the business in travel and tourism, what was lacking, because I was literally seeing, a lot of works being done manually, whether it's receiving, guests from the airport or taking them to the hotel, the whole cab arrangements, everything was pretty much from office phone or maximum to maximum mobile connections. And at that time, there was no 4G, so it was pretty much like 1 or 2G, the network. So it literally a lot of hard work. And then we had just an introduction of technology where there was more like web 1 era we were living. So I could got it. And because I was studying in a college where we do have MCA, master of computer application students, MBA students, and travel and tourism students, so I had access to all of them under one roof. So what I did is basically created my network, brought all these friends of mine together, and we created a website which is very much connecting all the stakeholders in the travel industry, bring them under one roof, and provide services to people who are looking for travel. So what we used to do is create a concept of timeshare concept, which probably you get it from Club Mahindra and other big corporates right now. So we started that by bringing the technology. We connected to all the service providers, brought them into the ecosystem, and then have started a reselling, retail reselling campaign for all those people who want to travel. So say, for example, you bought 12 nights and you only used 6 nights of your travel package, the rest 6 nights left. So what we did is basically sold that 6 nights to people who are looking for it but cannot afford financially because of heavy taxes, the tariff, etc., etc. So they were able to do that. So what the profit that we made from there also getting distributed to you as a owner or as a package holder, and then we also keep a percentage of it. So that gives a lot of boom to work with the industry networks or with all the stakeholders to make money. So that is what I did my college and universities days, basically. So that is the entrepreneurship ecosystem or entrepreneurship. I would say my journey started during that time, but I never had that exposure, how the private equity works, how the valuation works, all the investment jargons. I didn't have access to those because I didn't have a mentor at that time. So it was all me doing by myself, access to the network and building it up. But during my masters, it was I actually joined MBA in tourism, but it got converted to Master of Arts Tourism Administration. And it was a non-technical subject because we were nowhere under the AICTE. We became a part of the University Grant Commission, the UGC program. So I always wanted to do another MBA so that I could get, in a corporate ladder, better position, better money, and exposure to what I wanted to do. So basically, I started preparing myself to go to UK. I also did some research, connected to university professors, started talking to them online during that day. But because India and UK had a very kind of relationship, cordial relationship, I also networked few of my brothers because my elder brother was staying in UK at that time. So I also did a network of with his friends to connect how I can actually move and do an MBA in the UK. So they all suggested me, why don't you come to UK, because the MBA is just a 1-year program, so it will finish very quickly and you will never get exposure to the culture and all these things because it's very intensive. So I decided to go to UK doing a postgraduate diploma program, which is a one step before doing a master's. So that will give me enough time, like, because normally the PGDBMS courses were like 18 months to 2 years kind of timeline. And then that was an integrated 1 year, so you join the master's program there. So I started preparing for that. I had good IELTS score, so I moved to UK in 2005. I did my postgraduate diploma course. I had a good bands in there as well. So that basically, gave me an opportunity and 2 years working with, with Marks and Spencer as an international student for 20 hours per week. Gave me a lot of opportunity to connect with industry people, particularly from travel industry, because Heathrow Airport was just, I think, 20 minutes from our, university and college campus. So we were able to having that access. And second thing, because we were doing travel and tourism programs, so we already got connected with the world travel market. One of the largest conference event happens in London, and access to all the tour operators, travel agencies like Thomas Cook, Cox and King, SOTC and all these guys. Then a lot of travel agents, the air travel companies have their offices in London itself. So we got access to those. That gave me a lot of, network opportunities. But at the same time, I wanted to do my MBA. So I chose Brunel because, Brunel had specific specializations in aviation, I think healthcare, as well as the general strategic management. So it's an MBA 1-year program, which I did to Brunel. I was working with Marks and Spencer till 2011. Even I got graduated, had a 2-year post-study work. So I used that to build entrepreneurship as my passion, but working with corporates to basically learning the leadership skills, communication skills, management, everything that I learned from my MBA classes. So it's more of working on, doing by learning kind of learning by doing kind of environment, which I choose. And I remember again, I registered my first company after I got graduated from Brunel, but I was one of the founding member for Brunel startup Brunel Entrepreneurship Society, which is we try to create an ecosystem. If you are doesn't matter whether it's you are a domestic student or international student, but if you want to start a business in your university, you can start a business. And there was an umbrella company was created. It was a not-for-profit organization in the name of NACU, National Association of College and University Entrepreneurs. So I made great guys over there like Victoria Lennox, Matt. Then I met Sujit as well, who have been achieved so much, and they were been from Oxford University, King's College, then Kingston University. I was a part of the Bright Futures as well at that time, which was a charity but connected all the social entrepreneurs who have been working on their universities at different programs. They want to learn entrepreneurship and also building business. So yes, I got a lot of exposure in the UK, which I didn't have in India. And by the way, the company that I started in India, we built the technology, we made money, but of course, when I moved to UK and I was already doing my MBA and working part time, so I was literally struggling at that time to manage the company back in India. So I kind of, took a voluntary exit, I would say, sold that company to a colleague of mine who was based out of US, but doing an MBA with me. Initially, I got some, funds for me to run, have a, healthy runway during my MBA days, so that I can work less and study more, also focus on building my next venture. So it was a great learning curve. 1 year in Brunel and 2 years with London School of Management, West London University. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's great that you mentioned Orkut and High Five because I still remember that. Can you believe High Five has become a dating app like Tinder? That is what High Five is today.
Exactly. No, I remember my college and university days spending almost 4, 5, 6 hours in the evening, late evening in London. We had a community. We still have, but it moved from Orkut to Facebook right now. It was called Indians in London, and it was more like an extended family. Everybody from different parts of India, because live in a country like UK, again different cities, but everybody was so emotionally and culturally connected. So we used to spend like 4, 5 hours on Orkut chat, and different discussions from political science to economy to, I don't know, India Pakistan cricket match, a lot of things. And good thing is it's not only happened virtually, but it also had an offline meetups. So we had few friends like Raksha, Minal, if he a lot of guys doing different things. And also they were great dancers, the great musicians. If he was doing DJing as well at the time. I remember a friend of mine was raising money for India, doing Bollywood nights. So yeah, so we were used to meet in different clubs, different potluck parties and stuff. So we had great fun. Holi party, New Year party. Going to different every weekend parties to central London and other parts of London. So yeah, we had a great fun.
Absolutely. Also, you mentioned that you hail from an armed forces family.
Yes. Yeah.
So how has army background and coming from an army background shaped your life and especially your professional life when you talk to executing things or discipline and things like that? How has that helped you personally?
Well, I learned a lot from the family itself. My elder brother was into Indian Army and he was commissioned officer. So he went through the CDS, the Combined Defense Force services. And even when I was in college, I wanted to be in Indian Army. I gave my CDS thrice, but obviously I get the first two, I think in Kolkata. Then after I moved to Mumbai and I did the last one, but I was not medically fit because I had some accidents before that, and that basically didn't give me an opportunity to get into Indian Army. So it was 3 times, and I was, I think, at that time in 24, 25. So I had like 2 years because you need to be below 26 to appear for those serious exams at that time. So I decided like it's not probably in my destiny. So I decided to, you know, focus on my MBA and getting to UK. At the time, I had a spark towards entrepreneurship because I was reading Richard Branson's books. I was reading Bill Gates' books at that time, but I didn't realize the what is entrepreneurship all about, what is risk is all about. So I was doing business more for fun and making money without realizing the impact of entrepreneurship. But I realized that when I moved to UK, to be very honest. And
Absolutely.
us talking about Indian Army, I learned a lot of discipline, during that journey. Be it focusing on education, be it with family life, with your relationship with other colleagues as well, which I find is very different when I meet my civilian friends outside and when you are inside the army camp and all these things. So the environment is completely different. So that gave me a lot of confidence, focus on my work, as well as meeting people who are, from the day one, they are ready to sacrifice for the nation. So that's something you don't find it in general, when you come out of that can. So yeah.
Absolutely.
If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you think what's being discussed is nice and you'd like to join the discussion, please comment below. And if you'd like to stay updated, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.
And also, you're the founder of India Blockchain Council. What
Yeah.
is it? Why did you start it? And when did you start it?
Yeah, so I remember coming back to India to join one of the conference called, the Vibrant Gujarat. And when I met almost 19,000 entrepreneurs, delegates, policymakers under one roof, made few incubators, visited few incubators in Gujarat as well. And that is where we realized that the technology and the private equity part is missing. Starting a business with 1, 2 lakh, 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees is pretty easy. You can get it from family, you can get it from your friends, maybe relatives. But once you start and have a runway of 3 to 4 months, when you want to scaling up, there is no one there to basically mentor you. There is no one there to support you, to even let you know how to basically raise the next level of money. What are the structural needs required from the day one, right? Why to make a private limited company? Why have the shareholder agreement and all these things? As I said, I only came to know about this because I did my MBA outside, and I met a lot of entrepreneurs through my network. So I had access to, and that is when I came and discussed those things in India, because I was a part of the startup Britain at that time. I was a local champion for Ealing as well. So Ealing, Southall, I had a lot of connections with Asian founders, particularly who moved from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka to UK to start their business, or even studying, and then after starting their business. And I realized this is the same problem, right? The technologically they're not sound. That's one major challenge. B is the whole structuring of the company and everything that was not very much known at that time, because there were very few opportunities for mentoring and all these things at that time. So that is where I thought, if we can connect Silicon Valley, Silicon Roundabout, and Silicon Corridors of India, that would be a great opportunity for Indian founders to get access to UK and US founders. By the way, I experienced that when I was in London, because we did a lot of collaboration with Silicon Valley comes to the UK, SBC to UK. So there was like 36 hours long hackathons, 15 different places of UK connected to Silicon Valley, building products from Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley was pretty much like a hub of technology, and you see a lot of Indian entrepreneurs already established there at that time as well. But when they want to connect back to India and work with Indian entrepreneurs or Indian ecosystem, there was nothing platform as such where they can connect, they can do business. And that is where I think the Startup India created a bridge to start with. But the trust factor was lacking, because the peer-to-peer connection was a bit, most of the time when you government organizations like Startup Britain or Startup America, even Startup Canada or Startup India. It's more like bilateral relations between the government, or government starts something to support the ecosystem. But the peer-to-peer entrepreneurs needs to be connected. And that is where we brought in this India Blockchain Council. The idea was to basically, create an awareness for blockchain, because when travel different parts of India during that time, I remember 99.9% people actually said me blockchain is Bitcoin. And because they heard of Bitcoin, so they couldn't relate what is the blockchain, how the backend work, how the database, gets formed, a whole framework infrastructure. They didn't have any clue about it. So they were like, this is the what we are doing the trading. Bitcoin is the ultimate object product, and blockchain is that. So we had to literally show them how the hash works, how the nodes created, and then walk through them the technology aspects of it, and then let them know, okay, this is what actually the product is. And you can also create enterprises from blockchain itself, not only focusing on cryptocurrency. So and as you know, cryptocurrency was not legal in India. There was regulatory concerns over there. So a lot of people hesitating to get involved in the process. But when we actually, the idea was to make the technology simple, so a lot of people in enterprises, MSMEs, startups can start adopting the technology, which we are seeing it probably after 5 years or 6 years down the line.
So let me ask you this, Pravash, then. Is India Blockchain Council a think tank? Is it a regulatory body? What does India Blockchain Council do?
Okay, so it started as a very much like a consortium level of operation. Wanted to connect to college and university students. That was one objective. Second is connecting to Indian policymakers at different ministries, so we could understand the opportunities. And there was a part of it, hackathon culture also. We started in India, and I remember went to Gujarat, asking the Gujarat Technological University to do the first Digital India hackathons. And nobody knew what hackathon was at that time. So everybody was like, what is hackathon? So I literally had to sit down, do a complete, documentation, present it to the Vice Chancellor, then physically be there, done it. So that's the first thing we did. So that basically connecting to college and university entrepreneurs to build proof of concepts, MVPs, and take the market technology perspective. So that was the second objective. Third was, as I said, connecting to some of the investors already who are in India, already who are doing business very successful outside, but they want to contribute in Indian economy, contribute in investing in India, but there was the platform was very much missing. So that is where we started India Blockchain Council, and we went to various cities, did workshops. We also got connected to successful entrepreneurs like Ritesh Malik and all from Innovate. Then Vishal came, Vishal joined. That got exposure to some of the big entrepreneurs in the UK as well. So we collaborated with Innovate London. I came as a delegate from UK to India, from their money to come here, and then got exposed to a Branson School of Entrepreneurship, for Peter Jones School Academy as well. So a lot of exposure happened during that time between India and UK, because people were literally looking for such organizations to get connected. And because we were a consortium, so there was no regulatory challenges for us to basically, how to do business. But sooner I realized that, only having Indian Blockchain Council is not going to solve the issue and connect other people with you. But to do business and trading, you need to have a proper company structure and everything. So that is how I basically, met Chetan, and then we formed the US India Blockchain Council.
Absolutely. So, Pravash, let me ask you this then. You also have a sister organization called US India Blockchain Council. Is it the same version, but just for US, or what is there some difference?
It was an international version of India Blockchain Council to basically, put it in a very politically, correct statement. The reason was there was a US delegation coming to India. I met Chetan during that time. He was an MIT. He was also a having a startup to start. He was working on a tech platform and he came to India. I met him through a friend of mine reference. And when we discussed, we immediately clicked because that was the intention how to basically build an ecosystem between India, US, UK. And because I had those exposures earlier with my previous, works and corporate life, so we started collaborating and we did a one event in MIT with the Bitcoin Club, and then I made few other guys as well, like Sahil, Sipra, and other guys. So at the time, the consensus US was building pretty well, and they were lacking the same system in India. So we kind of collaborated with international organizations and bringing them to India, doing workshops and stuff. That is how the US India Blockchain Council started, with again three very positive notes. One is building an ecosystem between US and India, connecting Silicon Valley with Silicon corridors of India. B is building an ecosystem with connecting the right kind of incubators and accelerators that is already in India. So we don't have to literally go and rebuild the infrastructure because that has already been done with the government. We just need to create an awareness, create capacity building, and rolling out our incubation or accelerator programs, right? And there was also 99 smart cities was declared in India. And as you know, each and every smart city needs future technology to come in. But there was this blockchain, whole Web3, Web2 was missing at that time in the ecosystem. So that is where we thought we could be the right person, because a lot of people only talk about trade, investment, and commercial business, but they don't talk about technology, right? And that is where the scalability is missing. So we thought we can actually help to build this ecosystem. That is where we decided. Third thing was to basically, create some programs or create some reports for the government, writing white papers, white labels for the government. So we can actually approach to IITs and also Niti Aayog Planning Commission to come up with blockchain, as a solution for different ministries as well.
Absolutely. So, Pravash, you're also a mentor at Startup India. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure, definitely. So my engagement with Startup India started when I was already in the UK, and we were at a very initial stage of building a policy for India to help startups and build the ecosystem, bringing again policymakers, investors together. I came to India, became part of the ecosystem in Gujarat to start with. So we were the first technology business incubator, which was an industry-based incubator for the first smart city in Gujarat. And I got an opportunity to work with various IITs in IIT Gandhinagar, IIT Mumbai and stuff. Then I got an opportunity to work with almost 30 plus incubation centers in Gujarat, sponsored by both the Department of Science Technology, Government of India, as well as the Ministry of Electronics, IT, plus various state, startup mission, CSR Authority of India as well, Smart City Mission India. So that gave me a lot of exposure to government, what challenges they are facing, and which obviously got to the next level by doing a collaboration of hackathons, because in our incubation center, we used to do hackathons, and that word of mouth actually get published, so quickly that everywhere the hackathon culture started. And we did a 24-hour hackathon, by the way, in president's residency. So I was fortunate enough to meet Honorable ex-president, because of that, Pranab Mukherjee's, and we discussed various, challenges in India we had, like women empowerment, accessible to toilets and all these facilities, how we can actually create a synergy for different tourist spots and, give prior tickets to any foreigners or any overseas tourists coming to those places. Also education and empower the inclusive ecosystem that we are talking about. Now it's more of circular economy we're talking about, but at that time it was how to basically empower the local ecosystem, like artisans, all the tourist guides and everybody who are part of the ecosystem but not able to access that government ecosystem or government programs. So yeah, basically that is how it started. We created the first policy for India. It is called Student Startup and Innovation Policy, SSIP, in Gujarat. And we got funding from the government, central government as well as state government. increase to the capability or capacity building to various colleges and universities of Gujarat. That policy was also took taken as a reference for building a national policy for India. The President House actually brought that as a part of the AICT policy. Should students get credit when they are instead of going and getting an internship, they can also build their own businesses during that time. So that is how the Startup India relationship started. And pretty much then after, I've been a mentor to Mark, which is the new initiative starting connecting entrepreneurs with the mentors, so that A is they can discuss what challenges they are facing in day-to-day life. B is also getting to the network of investor community, to other mentors community who can make their life a little bit easier, the challenges they are facing in day-to-day life. And also, being a network to the government, like, what they are building, because the government is also looking for solutions at a distributed network. So we can actually, being to access to those entrepreneurs, we can become a, cheerleader, or maybe, champion to them as well. So what they are building and how to basically scaling it up.
Absolutely.
If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you think what's being discussed is nice and you'd like to join the discussion, please comment below. And if you'd like to stay updated, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.
Pravash, let me ask you this question then. The government has announced a scheme called Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? Which essentially translates for a non-Indian audience to self-sustaining India, where they want to create industries that can self-sustain India and lessen the dependence on foreign countries, right? Do you think, as a policy, and it's a great policy, but do you think the policy can sustain itself without including blockchain in it? And do you think the government is using enough of the blockchain technology within its Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme?
The use of blockchain in Atmanirbhar various schemes, it has just started, I would say. They are doing great when it comes to policy making and creating a blueprint where India needs to be in 2030 or 2047. So that's the kind of way ahead roadmap been built. So if you look at the schemes like Make in India, Invest India, Digital India, they are great policies. They have kind of a roadmap. They've been working on ground, but the challenge is again finding the right technologists or techpreneurs to bring them into ecosystem and building and creating solutions that can build a marketplace itself for 1.3 or 1.4 billion population we have, and also give an opportunity to overseas Indian. We're talking about around 25 million, NRIs, non-residents Indians living outside. They can also come and contribute in that. So there is a huge space, there is a huge gap, but I think that gives a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurs like me who have lived outside for a long and come back doing something for our country as well, for building, create wealth basically for ourselves.
Absolutely. Also, we see the Aadhaar, which is the Indian version of a SSN number, similar to what you have in US. Do you ever see Aadhaar becoming a tokenized NFT for trustless validation of identification or things like that in future?
I think definitely yes, it could be very soon we can see that version of it, because the way I see the Prime Minister's passion to build a digital India right now, and particularly if you look at India's adoption of CBDC, right, the central bank digital currency. Now we have already started the e-rupee float or pilot right now in India from yesterday. So I can see next probably 6 months to 1 year, it's going to be a rapid expansion, because we are literally now open the world to come to India through G20 presidency. We also have Pravasi Bharatiya Divas happening in 2023. So there is a lot of interaction going to be happen in climate change, in economy policy reformation between India and other countries. If you look at the free trade agreements that have been signed between India and other countries like UK, Australia, US, Japan, and Israel. So a lot of already trade policies getting into action or getting executed right now. So I see blockchain is a very trustworthy solution for this, and it has been started with, I think, Startup India as well. Like you have Startup India self certifications are all stored in blockchain. So eventually that will create a DID, which is a distribution ID for founders to create them a good credit history so that they can get loans from banks, get fund facilities for factory ownership, factory settlements, and manufacturing unit setups from NBFCs. Also, it will give an opportunity for them to basically doing a trade promotion between India and other countries, because that has been started, but not because, I mean, we had a 2 years COVID, 18, 19 months, we were pretty much offline. But good thing is the Prime Minister actually started the international version of Startup India or Invest India, right? So there are pretty much hubs have been created in different parts of the world to support FDI, AIF, and alternative investment funds to India. So that is going to be kind of getting that momentum once we start using blockchain more and more. I mean, particularly in the healthcare industry, particularly if you see road transportation, heavy industries like manufacturing setups, defense tech, aviation, huge opportunities for anybody who is getting into the technology space in blockchain. Blockchain, decentralized finance, NFT, obviously the currency part of it, it's going to be huge opportunity for them.
Absolutely. So we all know, due to the lack of funding and lack of resources historically, the justice system within India, the court system within India has a huge backlog where sometimes people have had to wait for 30 or 40 or even 50 years for the case to even be presented in front of a judge, right?
Absolutely.
So do you see both blockchain and even technologies such as NFT or Web3 addressing this problem, where we can perhaps have an SLA scheme, like in the corporates, you have an SLA scheme that you have to get the work done within 7 business days or something. So do you see an SLA scheme being introduced in the justice system to sort of tackle this backlog?
I think, yes, the journey has been started. There is a Supreme Court bench has been created, and they actually came up with a digital courtroom hack right now. So it is not completely executed, but a part of it already started through a pilot program where Honorable President was actually explaining last Constitution Day, India Constitution Day, what is the roadmap for India, for particularly people who are, with good intentions, maybe for some bad reasons behind the bars, right? And we need to bring them back into the society life or the normal life. So that is something is already on priority, the government to fix. We actually started working on it around 8 to 9 months back. As I remember, I had a call with Honorable, Law Minister at that time, Ravi Shankarji, and we had a roadmap. We did a courtroom hackathon in Mumbai, followed by we did a hackathon in Delhi as well, but it was a virtual hackathon. Mumbai was an offline hackathon. So there are some proof of concepts we have already presented to the government, what is going to be. We have created a kind of white label for the government to refer to as well. I think this is going to be the law tech is going to change the landscape of India, because there are so many cases pending. It's a great thing that you already kind of addressing through NFTs to solve the problem like SLA. I think the currency is not so far, been there, whether it's going to be a fungible token, non-fungible token, or whether it's a digital currency, or we're talking about acceptance of crypto in India. So this is still very much in a decision-making process for the parliamentary body or the government committee right now, CIC committee particularly. But I think what we can probably do is connect it somehow with the CBDC and DeFi build that India is already building, and connect it to the ERP with the tokenism model, so that every cases can be become an asset and become a block node on the technology. And the moment you start making the solution up, every stakeholder has to get involved in that. The quicker you solve the problem, you get more and more tokens which can be used for your digital currency or digital assets. So yeah, that I can see there is an opportunity there for India to take it.
Absolutely. So let me move on to the final section of the interview, which is my favorite section, which is rapid fire questions.
Right.
And I'd love to hear your opinions, which I presume will be shaped by your experience, right? So let me ask you this question. The race for the future of Metaverse and Web3, is that going to be won by big tech companies? Or is it going to be won by companies such as Upland or Sandbox? And why do you think so?
No, I think it's going to be distributed to a lot of small size pocket startups. Obviously, I mean, if you see there is any technology revolution happens, there are few big companies who take the lead and become the, which is now obviously a lot of big companies like AWS or Meta, even Google is trying to get into. But the innovation always stays on undercurrent, and that is where a lot of startups will actually emerge. And what I see, India has been a superpower right now in technology. If you talk about the software as a service, and I think the unicorn race I am seeing right now, and the way it's getting converted into volumes, into businesses, with a lot of Indian crypto unicorns or blockchain unicorns now right now happening. I can see a lot of startups will come in different pages. Somebody will be focusing in augmented reality, somebody will focus on VR, somebody will focus on drones and all these things, healthcare, consumer tech, D2C brands. I think there's a lot of startups, individual entrepreneurs, startup founders would actually take that next big leap from India.
Absolutely. So if you look at the niche of Metaverse and Web3, do you think it is a winner take all market, or is there pockets where smaller companies can coexist at the same time and perhaps carve out a niche for themselves?
I think the smaller companies will coexist because I was attending in one of the conference just when Metaverse actually launched its XR fellowship program in India. I mean, few days back in Delhi, in collaboration with FICCI, Ministry of Commerce, and DNSNT as well. So they were very clear that it cannot happen anymore in a big company, right? And they were pretty open. Smaller companies, independent developers coming on board and building the product, and maybe having a share in the pie, maybe in the form of equity, in the form of NFT or other modules, other modes of transaction, but they want those things happening. That's a great thought from coming from a top, at a VP position in Metaverse, coming to India and speaking that in a public forum. That's one thing. Second thing is the innovation that is already happening on ground. Right now, a lot of large companies or big companies, medium, large companies also feeling the hit. They having that FOMO that if we're not moving to the Web3 and not aligned with what is happening, they will be missing out. So the whole changes in structure happening in Twitter, even in Meta, Google, I think that's the effect, cumulative effect is going to be in the ecosystem.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this question from a perspective that India is the second most populated country in the world. And some will argue that India is already going towards getting the #1 spot, right? Because of the rising birth rates and stuff like that. So let me ask you this question from that angle of India. What event or what factor would trigger the mass adoption of Metaverse?
Right. I think it's a very much at an initial stage right now, but I am very excited. 5G rolling out in India. That means a lot of shift will happen to mobile technology and also the Internet of Things. and because you have data, you have now network available and a lot of affordable smartphones going to be available in India. And the government is very bullish about manufacturing smartphones in India. You can see that Apple and Samsung and other companies coming to India manufacturing this. I think that is where the big shift is going to happen for Metaverse. A lot of retail companies, a lot of luxury companies, and also sports related companies are going to adopt Metaverse in a fast forward mode. You can see now the setting is already started by some of the big companies like H&M, Nike, all these like mm, different football clubs and stuff. They have already started, but I think a lot of even small medium enterprises is going to immediately take that advantage once the price of the device is going to be a little bit less. Now it's a little bit on a higher side. Somewhere you need 80 to 90,000 rupees to buy a device to experience it. But once it comes back to 20, 30, 40,000 range, then Indian rupees, then immediately everybody will start buying that as part of their smartphone and start enjoying, experiencing the whole metaverse thing. And maybe there is already kind of the ecosystem a lot of startups are building right now, giving away tokens to gaming, right? The play to earn, that ecosystem in India getting built. So we are going to be one of the largest play to earn ecosystem in the world, because we have the largest demography right now in terms of the age group, right? Under 25 age group, and they're all going to be hooked to smartphones, 5G internet network, as well as the peer-to-peer ecosystem that is already Web3 is building. So I think that is where a lot of all distributed networks to Metaverse is going to come.
Absolutely.
If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you think what's being discussed is nice and you'd like to join the discussion, please comment below. And if you'd like to stay updated, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.
So let me ask you this question. What would bring e-commerce to Metaverse?
I think that is already happening. If you see, I was there involved in few months back an MSME conference, and we could see even the government of JNK, UP, Madhya Pradesh, they have started bringing the tourism to Metaverse as well as e-commerce. And how they are doing is building an inclusive ecosystem, getting one district, one product started in an e-commerce platform. Is the government at a national level already rolled out GM, like the government e-marketplace. The second is a lot of states are now focusing on one district, one product. So it means basically the best product of that particular state or that particular district is now going to be available on e-marketplaces. And everybody who is going to be on a consumer side, they need to buy, they will obviously going to buy this, right? And the only way probably buying it is also getting an experience. And that is where a lot of state missionaries or state bodies have been already focusing on. They're building that in augmented reality and VR. And that is something already happening by just few days back, we had a conference for the JNK, and the whole thing, the tourism experience, basically you can now experience it through the VR technology, and then you want to buy the product as well. With a single click you can buy the product online. So that's going to be a game changer for India, various states, various consumer providers, both private, both government, and both private and government, and as well as a lot of PPP concepts will come up.
Do you think ONDC will address this?
Yes, definitely. I mean, if you see the privacy that everybody is talking about, the whole digital, ONDC commerce getting built, I think that is definitely going to be addressable, because the government is very, very keen, and they're looking, there should not be any frauds, because the moment you adopting technology, that will also kind of inviting a lot of scammers to the digital world, and everything is going to happen on a system behind the computer with few codes. A lot of people will try to also create programs for bad players, right? Absolutely. And that is where the government will take decisions or take bring policies that will basically stop these things.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this question, and this is a very divisive question, but I'd love your opinion on it. We all know that elections are coming in 2024.
Yeah.
So, do you see election campaigning happening in the metaverse?
You now probably the last general election we saw some few holograms and stuff. So I think the India consumer market is moving towards that direction. Some political parties have taken an advantage of doing, making videos right now in 3D. So that's already happening. Metaverse, yes, I think if they have the budget and if they have the right developer, the IT cell needs to be strengthened. Then they will be able to build that. So I think yes, I can see those things happening even smaller cities like Surat and all that. The current campaign happening for the various states right now. I mean, particularly in Gujarat, I'm talking about. So it become already a national kind of talking right now using
Do
the
you do you
technology.
see significant amount of money coming into the metaverse space then, if there is going to be election campaigning happening in the metaverse?
Absolutely. I mean, if it's going to be widely used, and because end of the day, we are talking about data, right? And people are going to get hooked with their mobile phones to enjoy this, or even their desktops. So we are talking about data. So we can see, the Reliance taking the first leap right now, and having the majority shares in different game developer companies, with metaverse companies having a big share in Facebook, sorry, Meta right now, and that is already happening. So I can see a lot of money coming in metaverse, creating dapps, decentralized applications, also web apps as well for 2D and 3D version of
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this question then. Who will win? Is it VR or is it AR?
I think it's going to be XR now. So augmented reality has already been there in India for a while. A lot of people actually started. I think we started in 2018 when I was having my magazine, right? And from a print paper, we could actually create videos, and that can be streamed right online live as well. So we did that. So I think the VR is already pretty much in place. A lot of tourism, state tourism, the development corporations adopting it, other, like the manufacturing units in automobile, in other sectors, they have already adopted it. Right now it's going to be more of XR, where the streaming is going to be one of the big things. So anything that you do behind the door in a small office or even manufacturing unit, people now need to see and get the vibes of it before become a part of it. And I think that is where it's going to be the next big thing.
Absolutely. Um, if we talk about the future of the metaverse, do you think it's going to be built on VR headsets, or do you think it's going to be built on holographic projections?
I think it is going to be both, and maybe changing over the time, because VR headsets, I mean, if you see the use of it right now, it's also limited because the availability of manufacturing devices in India, and we have to depend on foreign countries to bring the device into India. So that is where the government is now kind of coming up with subsidies to manufacture the VR sets in India. At the same time, there are companies like building smart glasses, like the Reliance and Google and all these guys. They are already building it. So I think that is where the transition is going to be happen. So and that's good for the content creators. So you can just wear it, create content, distribute it, publish it, and monetize
Absolutely.
it up as you go.
Absolutely. How far are we from haptic suits becoming a reality?
Next 24 months, I could see there is a lot of changes going to happen in India ecosystem, as well as the world getting connected to India because of the market that is availability, and also the demographic dividends we have.
Absolutely. Is the global internet bandwidth fast enough to sustain a 3D web where you have Web3 and Metaverse for the mass adoption?
I think that's an infrastructure challenge. The government is trying to, address that through creating, homegrown data centers, also create building towers in different tier 2, tier 3, as well as the last mile connectivity. So last mile connectivity and last mile delivery is still a challenge in India. Even if you see the world, it's still we are lacking those infrastructure, but the government is kind of looking into it and in the budget itself. So you will see a huge saved up budget towards building IT infrastructure, ITES support in India next year budget.
Is that from your opinion going to create new spectrum wars between the telecom companies?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, now if you see the 4G, the tendering ecosystem and also connecting with the original network ecosystem, now TRAI is already trying to bring everyone together and roll it out. So eventually what will happen, government will create its own infrastructure and ask every telecom operators to become part of it and, roll out the whole plan. So I think that is a good way of creating SPVs and the local partners, or even like national players connecting with local partners and empowering them.
Absolutely. Also, so you have lived in India, you've lived in US, you've lived in UK, so you understand the global immigration ecosystem, right? And how there are open immigrations, especially in Europe or US. So let me ask you this question. Why are governments not using Metaverse and Web3 to assimilate new immigrants into their own culture? Because the biggest issue that we face from the people against open immigration is that uh, the new immigrants don't assimilate in the culture, right? So they say, okay, you can bring the people in, but they should at least learn our culture. They should learn our values. They should learn our etiquettes. So why are governments not using Metaverse and Web3 to help new immigrants, whether they're asylum seekers, refugees, or normal immigrants, understand the culture of the host countries using Web3 and Metaverse?
I think that's a great question. I think also that creates or opens up an opportunity a lot of players to come into it, or be it government or private players. Uh, I mean, countries like UAE. Now, if you look at Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, the whole FIFA World Cup, right? It becomes a cultural hub right now, not only for tourism, sports, conferences, but everybody from the world coming to this country. So I think that is where we need to learn, what extent we could allow a foreign immigrant to come and become part of the, otherwise there would be always local versus international class is going to be there because of the job opportunities, economy, sustainability, and all these things. So technically India is right now overcrowded, I would say. So we need to kind of create some policies so that a is we give access or give the the sustainability that we're talking about can be more empowering, more participatory. At the same time, when somebody comes to India, they should not feel like they left out. So they become part of the culture they are going to be. And I can see these things happening, but still it needs a lot of improvement in terms of guidance, in terms of involvement, engagement with the local ecosystem, empowering them with a welcoming nature. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you think Metaverse and Web3 can aid in bridging the social justice?
That is already happening. If you see right now, I mean, I'm talking about if you divide somebody who doesn't have internet access, they live in a very different world, but has an internet access and they have access to all the future techs we're talking about or the current existing ecosystem, right? That is already happening. So we kind of don't consider ourselves anymore as Indian citizens. We are considering ourselves as a global citizen. So I think the same thing when I talk to somebody from other parts of the world, they also consider the same as well, and they pretty much share the culture, they share the lifestyle, they share the the food, everything like kind of now opening up. So the social justice, if I ask, it's more about acceptability and adaptability. The culture which is more liberal, the culture is more welcoming, everybody is going to be part of it, by knowingly, non-knowingly, or maybe but they are going to be part of it.
Absolutely. Should the Metaverse and Web3 ownership be anonymous?
With the Web3, integration or coming into picture, yes, it's definitely going to be anonymous because of the technology in nature. A lot of people do not want right now to share their privacy openly because they want to be protected at the same time as well. So yes, that I would say it's going to be mostly anonymous.
Absolutely.
And maybe an end-to-end encryption so that people don't lose their identities as well as their platforms in future.
Right. Are VCs investing enough in Metaverse and Web3?
Currently, it's a very much at a limited edition kind of investments, I would say, because they are looking for kind of what is the return on investment is going to be. Do we have enough consumers to adopt? To your questions, not yet, but I think that opportunity is coming depending on the use cases we are adopting.
Absolutely. And for my final question to you, Pravash, let me ask you this. You've lived in India, you've lived in UK, you've lived in US. How do you draw comparisons between the different cultures and how they're perceiving the NFT, the Web3, the metaverse technologies, and how they're building it? Are people adopting it? What's going on in the minds of entrepreneurs? What are they doing?
So, to become part of Web3, become part of the NFT or metaverse, everything we need to have that risk appetite as well. It's not only understanding the technology and building it, but at the same time considering the user part of it as well as creating an economy out of it. Otherwise, it's not going to be sustainable. So, if you see that angle, I think UK and US probably 7 to 10 years ahead of us because they are ready to pay for something they are consuming. But in India, a lot of things are very much free because of the customer acquisition strategy. And many a bit, I mean that there is both yes, no, there are a lot of arguments in that. But I would say in terms of market, India is going to be one of the largest market. Now where the money comes in, that is one of the brands needs to figure out, investors needs to figure out how the monetization happen. Maybe we are not in that premier segment of paying for something and getting access to it, but I think that mindset is also changing in India right now because of the data acceptance. I mean, the basically if you see the experience, right, if somebody is actually going for ad free streaming, they are actually paying for it because they want that streaming to be lively, they want that complete smooth and everything. But whereas if you don't pay, then obviously you have to consume those ads, consume those things. So that is where I think it's a change is going to happen with the tech ecosystem. In terms of adaptability, I think India is much more ahead of other nations. In if we talk about acceptance of the UPI, acceptance of the mobile technology right now, even the OTT, as a whole, even in the segment of NFT, I think we are one of the largest consumer markets so far in terms of using the NFT or getting the rewards through the NFT. But in terms of investments, maybe we need to look at other countries and learn from them as well.
Absolutely. Well, that concludes the interview. Pravash, thank you for joining us. This has been the episode 15 of Reading Between the Lines. It was an honor to host you here with us, and it was a great conversation. Hopefully, we have you back again soon.
Thank you so much, Dan. It was great speaking to you, and I wish you all the best for your next episodes. And I hope you will reach the 100 milestone soon. So you will become a unicorn for, Metaverse with three, podcasts and streaming.
Absolutely, we hope so too. Before I end this interview, I will leave the viewers with one thought that I leave them with in every interview. You be the arbiter of truth, the viewers of the Metaverse Street Journal. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Pravash. It was an honor to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. This was the episode 15.
If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you think what's being discussed is nice and you'd like to join the discussion, please comment below. And if you'd like to stay updated, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.